guys, welcome back to Rumi's Life, or welcome if you're new, and today I'll be talking to you guys about taxes again, but this time I'm talking about marriage penalty and marriage benefit. So let's just dive right in. Hypothetically, if you get married and you're filing jointly, your jointly taxes should be the double the amount of your single people, right? When you're filing single. So as you notice, it does, I took this right here as just the C column, my single people times 2. And then so as you keep going down, it closely resembles marriage filing jointly until it gets to that 37% tax bracket. Then you notice that it takes a lot less money to reach that 37% tax bracket than it does when you're filing jointly or when you're filing single. Because when you're filing single, you would have to make $510K to hit that 37% tax bracket. But then for married filing jointly, you would have to be just making like about 306 to hit that 30% tax bracket. So it takes a lot less money to reach that threshold. So this is the difference right there, is how the marriage penalty happens. If it has a marriage penalty, then why wouldn't you just not file it, just file single? But this is if you're married and you file single as your status, then that's forgery because you're lying. If you're married, you would have to actually just file married filing jointly or married filing separately. And so married filing separately still has the same rate like this. So it's still gonna happen whether or not. And then when would you actually file separately? Well, you would file separately when one spouse has a lot more itemized deduction, or when one spouse wants to keep their liabilities separate. But if you file separately, if you're married filing separately, it doesn't actually have, you can't actually take some of the deductions or some of the credits. For example, child credit, you can only take half. So you actually have to just see where the benefit comes from married filing jointly and married filing separately. But this is another video. We're focusing on the tax. We're focusing on marriage penalty and marriage benefit. So that's why you can't just say, oh, I'm married, but I'm gonna file single. Like, big no. So if you haven't watched my last video, I highly suggest you do, because I'm not gonna go in much detail here. But if an individual makes 250K, that puts them at this 35% tax bracket. So I'm just gonna copy this formula down. Right. Yeah, right. Except instead of 300K, I make 350K. So I make $97,000. Okay, and the individual 2 makes the same amount, except I can't just copy and paste like that because it shifts it down to B. So I would have to copy and paste like that. Okay. So hypothetically, their federal income taxes would just be individual 1 plus individual 2, right? So they would hypothetically be paying about 195K in taxes. But because when they get married, they make 700K as a couple, that means they are in the 37% tax bracket. So let's calculate what that would look like. So I'm going to copy this down, right? Except instead of C, which is our single people, I'm going to copy it to E. So as a couple, I said I make 700K. So I make 700K minus this amount. So this is equal to 197. So that's almost $2,000 more that you have to pay in taxes because you're married. And as you can see, that the more money you make here, the more the couple make, the higher it's going to go, and the more the difference between the hypothetical and the actual becomes more apparent. Because right now, right here, it only looks like $2,000, which isn't that much. But this is the marriage benefit. If 2 people's income's a lot more sparse, because then they would get a marriage benefit. Because, for example, this person, if one person makes 50K, they're at like this 22% tax bracket. But if the other person makes 650K, they're at like a 37% tax bracket. Because of that, it takes less money to get to that higher tax bracket. So most of their money as a couple would be taxed a lot lower than they would be if that rich person filed them themselves. But instead of 40K, I make 50K. Alright, so I would have to pay $66,000 in taxes. But if I make 650K, ooh baby, then you'll be owing a lot in taxes. But again, there's a lot of tax write-off and stuff you can take, so don't worry there. Don't worry. The more money you make, the more taxes you have to pay. It's just unavoidable. And they pay 37% tax on the amount over. So if I make 650K, 650, 1, 2, 3 minus this amount, yeah. So now owe $205,000 in taxes. So this tax bill is going to be 212, but we know this adds up to 700, right? So we calculated what it would be for 700. So if this person makes 700 as a couple, then they actually have, here, let me actually do it like this. So they have a tax marriage penalty here, but for here you can see they have a marriage benefit. Yeah, that is definitely false. I'm just dragging it over. So they actually save $15,000 in taxes because their incomes are sparse, and thus far, by marrying someone with a low income, it slows down the rate that goes up to that higher tax brackets. Okay, well, what would it be for 550 and 550? Both people make a lot of money. Okay. We got this. This is when it gets super interesting too, I think. So if it was 550 per individual, then they're in the 37% tax bracket regardless of how much money they make. So let's see how that would look like. So which number should I copy? I think I'll copy this number. Yeah. Copy, paste. And then instead of 65,000, I make 55,000. And we know that the second person makes the same amount, paste, except they make 55,000. So hypothetically, as a couple, they pay $236,000 in taxes, federal income taxes. So what would it be for actual? I think I'm gonna copy this one. Yeah, I'm gonna copy this one. Well, hypothetically, if they're married, they make like $1.2 million in income tax, or I mean, as a couple. So that's, yeah, they're gonna owe a lot in tax. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, right? 1,000,002. Yeah. So then this, you can see, baby. Oh, baby. So if they were individuals, if they were married, if they were single, they would only owe 168 each, or 336 total. But because they were married, they would pay they would be in this married filing jointly, so more of their money is taxed at that 37% tax bracket. And because of that, they actually have a $45,000 of marriage penalty. They owe so much more now because they're married. And I guess so this was to prove that point. This right here we know isn't as much because less of that money, because they make $700,000, which isn't that much away from 600. So technically not that much money is taxed at that 37% tax bracket as opposed to this people right here, but they also make a lot of money. So, and this one right here is just to show a little point that if you make 40K, this marriage tax benefit tax penalty won't really apply to you, was my point. So actual, if they make 80K as a couple, which formula should I copy? I guess I just copy this one. Copy, except I don't make that much. I'm only in the 80,000, 22% tax bracket. So yeah, I'm only in the 22% tax bracket, and I make 80,000. 80, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, it's only 12-cent difference by getting married, and that discrepancy comes from this right here, because when you're single, it's 9701. I mean, and when you just double it, it's 19402 instead of 19401. So that's where like the 12-cent comes from, but it's not that big of a deal when you're in a lower tax bracket. But when you are in a lower tax bracket, there's another tax credit that gets affected when you're married. So this is for saving for another video. We can get into it. I feel like this video is already kind of long, so I don't want to get into what would happen because for low income people, it's not a federal income tax bracket problem. It's more a they can't take certain tax credits when they're married. So maybe I'll get into that in my other videos. I know this is the third video with Excel or Google Sheets, and I know, but I kind of live in Google Sheets and Excel, so it's kind of unavoidable that you're going to see some. But don't worry, keep subscribing. You'll be able to see more of my face. But I know it's kind of also weird for me to say at like age 19 that I'm not going to get married because of taxes, but when I first learned about the marriage penalty was like back in 2017, 2016, when the tax reform, the threshold was a lot lower to get that marriage benefit, the marriage penalty. So back then, it wasn't just about, oh, I don't want to get married because I'm going to be making a bank and my partner has to be making a bank as well. It wasn't just about that. It was the idea that like you have to mutually know finances, mutually have understanding about finances. And who knows, like I might be married next year, but for now, I think it's the implications that comes with knowing finances is a lot greater than anything else. Because you know what they say, like there was a statistic that showed one of the top two reasons for divorce is like cheating and just like financial disagreements, or like so. I think this is a very important thing that everyone needs to focus on. And that's it. If you thought this was really interesting, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Bye!